Mic check.
Mangoes, 6-7, man.
When I was to you, I knew you were the one for me. Come through, dig the sound. I swear the whole world could do you empty. Crowd around.
What's up, Jimithans? Today we're just going to quickly go over the basics that every newer or inexperienced survival of the fittest player should know, so they actually make it to the later rounds instead of dying before like 15 and actually getting to where the game starts getting hard. And we're going to start off with gears. Let's make this quick. So right away, from just looking at it, we know there's a bunch of gears here that are just worse, shittier versions of other gears. So I'm going to make like a tier list and we're just going to put them in their own little section. All right, there we go. These are all the gears. If you're running one of these, you're retarded. Get rid of them. They're terrible. They do nothing. Like, they're just inferior to other gears. And right away, these are the gears you should definitely run no matter how you play the game. These are extremely important. These will take up 8 slots. I don't think I really have to explain these two. These are two like basic movements. So are these. All 5 of these are basic movements that require hardly any skill at all to use, and they make the game a lot easier, and they are very important. This is the best healing gear. This is a really good healing gear. And then the burger is very interesting. We needed to talk a little bit about this. Burger is one of the most important gears to learn for survival of the fittest because it essentially lets you evade distance-based disasters and lets them go after other players. All right, so in this example, this is our map, right? This big box. And let's say you and some other guy are in opposite corners, and let's say Giant Noob spawns in the middle. So right now, if you're standing like perfectly against each other, Giant Noob, that looks like shit, hold on. Giant Noob is about 100 studs away. Not exactly, but for this demonstration, let's just say he is. If you use like a rotten burger, right? You give that guy a little rotten burger. What that does is it basically, for the game, it moves you like further away like that. And instead of being 100, it goes to like 150. So now the Giant Noob is 100% going to start going after this guy. But let's say that guy also decides to burger. If this guy decides to burger, now you're in a scenario where instead of both of you being really any different, you're kind of back to the same spot. You're both 150. But there's something else you should be doing when you burger as well. Instead of just using the burger and hoping that it'll target someone else, you should be holding a gear that has the cloak orb on it. The cloak orb adds plus 20 distance to any gear you put it on, so it'll give you like the rotten burger effect, but less, and you have to hold the gear out. So let's say I'm holding a fusion coil after I ate the burger that has cloak on it. Instead of being 150, I go to 170. And now the Giant Noob will still go after this guy. But you can see this will become redundant if, let's say, this guy also decides to hold a cloak and uses a rotten burger. And now Giant Noob will just go after whoever is positioned worse and he's actually closer to. Which is why it's important to actually stand in the corner, because if you don't do that, it doesn't matter if you use both cloak and rotten burger, you will 100% be closer to the disaster if the other side decides to stand in the corner and do both of those things. But what if SB here stood in the corner correctly? Then the rotten burger and cloak would become useless again, as both corners are once again the same distance away from the doge. So is that it? Do we just basically lose a gear slot now? And the answer to that is no. Good players will do this thing called a swap, which is an agreement between everyone that's still alive to basically go to the shop, get rid of your rotten burger, and buy like a bloxing gear, which will move us on to these 4 gears right here. So why is Dark Heart and Lightning Staff better than these two? Well, usually because in Survival of the Fittest, when you have up to 5 disasters spawning, usually you'll get swarmed, and you want to focus on the gears that kind of splash more enemies, and these two do that perfectly. These two are more single based and are usually worse, and so I recommend you pick either the Dark Heart or the Lightning Staff. They both work pretty well. Obviously Lightning Staff is ranged, but Dark Heart is a bit more defensive. Now if you're observant, you'll notice that I added Trowel and Rocket Launcher up here, and that's because while they are essential gears, they are really good. They also have a pretty high like skill ceiling compared to the rest of these, and if you're a newer player, you're probably not going to get the same value like I would out of like a Rocket Launcher over like any of these these gears right here, and they may even like hurt you if you use them incorrectly. Trowel is good because it lets you double jump off walls and allows you to place trowels in certain spots through invisible walls if you angle your camera correctly, which will let you stand in places you wouldn't normally be able to stand. If you want to learn more about these spots, I have a video here that goes over all the different kind of spots on different types of maps, and I'll leave that in the description. Rocket launcher is like a katana that's on crack that also propels you in the sky. You can get across the map in less than a second if you shoot it correctly at the right angle. It's a gear that you'll have to use over and over again until eventually you kind of get the hang of it, and you can consistently do it from like muscle memory, and it'll very quickly become the best movement gear that you have. All right, let's quickly go over these last two. They're an F because they have one thing to them, like fusion coil jumps slightly lower than gravity coil. This was never good, by the way. Some people used to run it. They're coping. It was never good. It was just like kind of shitty, but I guess it's better than nothing, I guess. It's better than useless. It's better than this. It has an effect. Coin bag will attract burglars, so if you, for some reason, have one when you're alive, you can bait them away from you with a coin bag. It has some use if you're dead. If you're dead, you can attract the burglars wherever you want with this, but other than that, they're pretty bad. So overall, this is like the most optimal build. This is 10 gears right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Occasionally, what you'll end up doing is you'll end up selling this if you do agree with other people that you want to do that, and you'll probably replace it with one of these, and that should be your normal survival of the fittest loadout. Moving on to another important mechanic that is essential for later rounds that a lot of new players seem to miss is iframes. Iframes are damage hits from certain sources that give you invincibility to non-insta-kill damage for a tiny duration, which basically means if something's not going to instantly kill you, like an explosion or like an insta-kill damage source, you'll take no damage instead. You can see why that would be really good when the game can spawn multiple disasters that can accumulate a ton of player DPS. And there are 4 different ways you can get these iframes. One being the hot sauce, which is the worst one because you drink it and it goes away instantly. You have to wait for the cooldown of the hot sauce to get it back. The next is the mage gas. You can stand in the green gas of mage to get the effect. After that comes the ghost. When they're attacking you, they will just give you iframes. And the most important one is the acid blocks, because they will stay on the map after the round ends. So whenever you're playing, make sure to look out for disasters that can give you acid, such as a witch's green potion, giant zombie's spit, and of course rising acid. Now there's a bunch of niche tricks you could learn for certain maps or certain disasters that I could probably talk about for hours, but to be honest, a lot of fun that comes from this game mode is learning cool new tech or game info that you can use on your next run to further increase your chance of winning. So good luck to all my aspiring survival of the fittest players. Try to get to the point where you get map records and get your name on the leaderboard. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty competitive. And yeah, I'll see y'all later.
It's getting closer.